Have you been wanting to get started as a freelancer, but you just haven't started? Everyone thinks you need to have all these things in place to get started, but it's really not true. I have a multiple six figure per year freelance business, and when I started, I had literally nothing in place. I guarantee you by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to get started your freelance business today. And the first thing you need is honesty. Now, why honesty? It seems like kind of a strange place to start. But I think honesty is the thing that if you have it in place, everything else works. And if you don't have it in place, nothing else works. It's kind of like a superpower. I believe it is the superpower, that and humility, the two greatest superpowers. And I think of the scripture in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, and it says, the heart is more deceitful than anything else and incurable. Who can understand it? You know, what I get from that scripture is that we can't trust our heart, our emotions, our feelings. They will constantly mislead us. If you think about, I'm too tired to work out today. I'm too tired to go to the gym. I'll do it tomorrow. The truth is, you really do have the energy to lift some weights, to do some running on a treadmill. You just don't feel like doing it. Even though it's a good thing to do, even though it's the right thing to do, you don't feel like doing it. That's how our emotions lead us astray. I've let my emotions lead way too many times. I've pursued bad relationships. I've avoided things that I should have done. Even instant gratification. So many times I've chosen instant gratification instead of long-term success. And the thing about emotions, the thing about feelings is they cause us to lean into things that we shouldn't lean into, and also to run away from things that we shouldn't run away from. Years ago, when I started freelancing, I had just graduated from law school and I was studying for the bar exam. I was actually studying the second time for the bar exam because I failed the first time. Talk about emotional stress. But when I was studying for the bar exam the second time, I had convinced myself, told myself that, look, if I get this license to practice law, no one can ever take it away from me. I'll have it forever. Now, that's not 100% true. If I did practice law and did something unethical, I could lose my license. But in my mind at the time, this was the thing that if I didn't get it then, I was never going to get it. So I convinced myself I'm going to go after this a second time and try to pass the bar exam the second time. But honestly, I just wasn't happy. I wasn't happy in law school. I wasn't happy studying for the bar exam. I wasn't even really happy thinking about becoming a lawyer. But in my mind, it was the right thing to do. In some weird way, I felt like because it was hard, because it was a struggle, it was a good thing to do. I don't know if you ever felt that way. Now, I think one of the biggest triggers of emotion are those big life decisions. They can cause a lot of emotional stress. And in those situations, clarity starts with honesty. How do you get to that point of honesty? How do you get you to be honest with yourself? The key is to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Is it based on fear? Fear is such a powerful thing. Maybe it's fear of what your parents think. Maybe it's fear of what your friends think. I definitely had friends who thought that I should practice law. So I think I felt that pressure. Or even fear of what your old classmates think. High school, I did very well in school. So, in the back of your mind, you think people have a lot of expectations of what you're going to do with your life. Even though I hadn't seen them in many years by that time, it still was something that affected me. So is it based on fear? There's a great scripture in 2 Timothy chapter 1. It says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but one of power, of love, and sound judgment. When I think about fear is something that is very disempowering. It robs us of our ability to make decisions. And this also says sound judgment, good judgment. It also robs us of our ability to make good decisions. So fear is such a powerful thing. It's so important for us to know when we're doing something out of fear. Or maybe it's not fear. Maybe you're doing it based on a fantasy. In my case, I wasn't happy doing what I was doing in law school. I wasn't really even that good at it. But in my mind, I kept thinking, you know what? I'll get better at it. You know what? I'm going to learn to like it more. And someday, everything will be great. That was me living in my own fantasy. I can tell you exactly where it came from. Before I went to law school, I remember watching The Firm, the movie with Tom Cruise. And that movie made being a lawyer look like such an exciting life, such an adventurous life. You know, who doesn't want to be the attorney in the courtroom in the big case where you're the one that makes that argument, that says that thing that really stuns the jury or really wows the judge? And then you end up winning the case and you ride off into the sunset and everything is amazing. That's how I felt after watching that movie. Now, I tried out for the moot court team in my law school. Moot court was our mock trial team. And I remember thinking, like, I'm going to be a powerful litigator someday. I'm going to be smart. I'm going to be sharp. And so I tried out for the team. What they did was they gave you just like a one-sheet fact pattern, gave you a few minutes to review it, and then they brought you back in the room and they started grilling you with questions. I froze. I couldn't think of what to say, how to respond to their questions. I couldn't remember what was on the sheet that I had just read. I walked out of there completely demoralized. But that was just such a good reminder to me that this really wasn't my strength. Could I have gotten a little better in it? Yeah, but it was never going to be playing to my strengths. So are you doing what you're doing out of fear? Or are you indulging in some kind of a fantasy? Or are you doing it based on fact? For me, the facts were this. Honestly, the reason I went to law school was I wanted to become a great argumentative writer. I thought that that would be a powerful way to impact the world. Now, it's not a horrible reason to go to law school, but it's really not a good reason to become a lawyer because 99% of the lawyers don't do that kind of work. If I'm being gut level honest, I had been a student for so long, I was just sick of being poor. I wanted that brand new Lexus that I could drive. Those, truthfully, were some of the real reasons I went to law school. And when I dug even deeper, I found out what really was going on inside of me. What I really wanted out of a career was something where if I worked harder, I could actually earn more. I didn't want it to be where I worked super hard and didn't matter how hard I worked, I always got the same salary. I wanted my income to match the effort and the hard work that I put in. I also wanted something that was a little bit adventurous. I always had a little bit of an entrepreneurial spirit inside of me. And most of all, I wanted something that I would feel satisfied doing. And I knew that for me, it was something creative and also something that was challenging, that allowed me to use my creativity to solve problems. Now, after that commitment to honesty, the next thing you need is a commitment to no regrets. There's a famous quote by Mark Twain. I'm going to read it to you. It says this: 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the things you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover. You know, the ending of that is very poetic, but the beginning is really practical and also very final. You will never have an opportunity to relive those 20 years. You will not get a second chance. For me, when I was in law school, I was miserable. I was miserable in law school. I was miserable studying for the bar exam. And yet somehow I thought that would all magically disappear, all the misery, and I would just end up being super happy in my career as a lawyer. Now that really doesn't make any sense at all, does it? And on the flip side, I loved creating. I grew up painting, drawing, writing. Every time there was a family birthday, like my mom's or my dad's, Mother's Day, Father's Day, I would actually make them a card. I would paint a card. I would draw a card. And I absolutely loved tennis. I played on my college team. I was working with a tennis shop. I was just wanting to create a website for them. This is when websites were first coming out, when companies were first wanting them. And while I was studying for the bar exam that second time, I couldn't wait for that exam to be over so I could actually dig in and start creating this website for them. I did it for free. It turned out to be a labor of love, and I absolutely love doing it. If you find something that you love to do so much, and when you're doing it, that time just flies by, pay attention to that. But even while I was doing it, I really didn't think I could make a living doing it because I didn't have a computer science degree. I didn't have any programming related degree. And honestly, I worried what clients would think. I just assumed like working with a client was going to be kind of like going to a job interview and they look at your resume and they find out where you went to school and what kind of degree you have and all that. I thought that's what it would be working for clients. So I figured it would never work out. Fast forward a few years, it became a really interesting point of conversation when clients would ask me a little bit about my background. And I would tell them that I'm actually a lawyer. I don't practice, but I went to law school, graduated, passed the bar exam. They were fascinated by that. And probably it helped a little bit because they probably thought, well, he's probably pretty smart, probably can figure this out. Even if he doesn't have the degree or the qualifications, that gives you some sort of credibility that you accomplished something in your life, even if it wasn't computer related. Now, here's the cool part. Less than 3 months after I created that website for the tennis shop and launched it, they actually started paying me to maintain the site. So I had my first freelancing gig. And I remember being so happy. I hadn't felt that through so much of school. I definitely hadn't felt it in law school. Even undergrad, I was kind of struggling to figure out what I wanted to do. But being able to use my creativity to accomplish something for a company that was going to help their business made me so happy. And thinking back, I cannot imagine the regret I would have had I not made the decision to go for it, to go for that freelancing gig, to try to make that first website and get paid for it. That was a huge highlight early in my freelancing career. And after you make that commitment to have no regrets, the next most important thing is making a commitment to not worry. The biggest thing that helped me when I was first starting out freelancing was a scripture in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25 to 34, where Jesus starts talking about worrying. And he says, look at the birds. They don't plant and harvest and store in barns so they can have food. They get fed. God feeds them. Look at the flowers in the field. Like, they're beautiful. They have gorgeous clothing and they don't have to make it. They don't have to design it. God provides for them. So Jesus said, how much more should we trust in God? Because we're worth even more than birds. We're worth more than flowers. And that scripture finishes by saying, but seek first God's kingdom and his righteousness, and God will provide everything else. Everything that you need, God will provide. So I took that scripture to heart. I made a decision to trust God, trust that scripture, to put God first, and trust that he was going to take care of everything else. And I remember the time praying, and I remember at that time even saying to myself, even if I have to live hand to mouth the rest of my life, I'll be okay with that because it's going to force me to go to God. It's going to force me to rely on God. And actually, the opposite happened. I've never had to live hand to mouth. I've been able to earn a really good living. I've been able to have a flexible schedule. I've been able to do something that I love to do, work with clients that I love to work with, get to choose who I work with. And I have literally almost never had to look for work. I truly believe God has taken care of every need that I've ever had and even provided more than I need, given me an abundance. So here's the bottom line. You have a choice. You can choose to worry about all the bad things that could happen and then never make a move, or you can choose to make a leap of faith, to take a step forward and see all the good things that could happen. If you feel like you're stuck and you want help getting unstuck, there's a link in the description. Click the link, fill out a form. I'll be in touch with you. We can jump on a call and see if there's something I can do to help you, or if it makes sense, maybe there's an opportunity to work together. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.